Hey everyone, it's Joe Waxman, and I'm back with another video. Today I want to go back to doing what I've done in the past, which is do readings. I want to do a reading of Vladimir Putin, everyone's favorite Russian president. Um, there's probably a lot of mixed feelings about Vladimir Putin. If you're a believer in the mainstream fake news media, you probably think he's the devil or something like that. I think they're completely lying about Vladimir Putin, and I'm sure a lot of you more evolved souls understand that the media is just basically they lie about everything and they don't tell the truth about anything, and it's all propaganda nonsense. And that Vladimir Putin basically is protecting his country from advancing Western forces through NATO, sort of like the Cuban Missile Crisis. I'm sure you've watched a lot of that stuff. He's just protecting his own country and, getting rid of the, bio weapons factories in Ukraine, which is a corrupt deep state, money laundering, child trafficking. They're basically the poorest country in Europe, or were, before America came in and said, hey, we'll help you out. We'll give you all this money if you do our dirty, if we let you, basically if we prostitute you out for the deep state New World Order, we'll put all our bioweapons labs and, launder money through Ukraine and traffic children through it. It's, we live in a sick world. But Ukraine is dirty as can be, and Russia's not. I'm not saying Russia's like, or Putin is a saint, but they're not as dirty as America. I mean, apparently that's what everything says. America and the rest of the Western nations are dirty, corrupt, evil, satanic, Luciferian. New World Order, deep state, pedophiles, child trafficker, rapists, torturers, you name it. Like all the most evil, vile things on the planet, they are. So it doesn't get really much worse than where we're at with, America and the deep state and the West in general. It's not just America, most of Europe is complicit, and a lot of other countries too. But anyway, this isn't about politics. I'm sure a lot of you are well versed in politics and know about this, that, and the other. So I don't really need to tell you. Just kind of sharing where I'm at with it, which is that they're lying their ass off about Putin. So anyway, I don't think he's such a bad guy. Let's just put that out in the beginning. He's not great. I'm not saying he's great. I'm not saying he's not done some horrible things. I have no idea what all the totality of what he's done, but the way they're making him out to be, it's not like that. The media is far worse. Joe Biden is far worse. America and most of Western Europe is far worse. Anyway, let's look at his chart. This is about astrology. Alrighty. Ignore that. Ignore that too. All right. Gosh, I'm so protective of my private stuff. Share it with the whole world. Anyway, I got nothing nothing to hide really. No, not much. Not much to hide. Anyway, here's Vladimir Putin. 7th of October, 1952 in St. Petersburg, Russia, 9:30 a.m. Well, he's a boomer. He's born 1952. A little bit younger than my parents, but definitely still a boomer. All right. Let's look at this confluence of planets in the 12th house. Libra. I'm thinking Libra, 12th, 7th. Yeah. Anyway. Big stellium. Pretty strong stellium in the 12th house, including Sun, Saturn, an exalted Saturn in Libra, Neptune and Mercury. So they're all sharing energy. So what's interesting is that, like, you wouldn't think the 12th house is prominent in politicians, but it is. Apparently, politicians deal a lot more in secrecy than you and I or the rest of the world want to know about because, well, I guess it's all secret. And that's really what the 12th house is about in regards to this. I mean, we see the 12th house a lot in creative people, spiritual people, that type of thing. You know, artists, musicians who are drawing on the inspiration from the dream world, the subconscious. But we also see it in prominent politicians. And where it plays in there is that they really are dealing in secrecy. So I mean, it's not just about the presidency or the leader of a nation. It isn't just about being the front man. It's also about navigating the hidden realms, the secret hidden realms that don't get expressed. There's a whole world of politics that is just underground that we just don't know about, right? It's secret, it's hidden, and those who can navigate that well can rise in politics. Sun's debilitated in Libra, but it's strengthened by this exalted Saturn. Saturn in Libra is excellent because Saturn in Libra is all about law and order and justice. It's a very, he studied law when he was younger. And so Saturn also is ruling the third house and the fourth house, co-ruling the fourth house, but especially the third house. So third house, exalted Saturn, so his intellect is very prominent here because it's ruling the third house. Third house is dealing a lot with intellect, right? And the ruler is Saturn exalted. So that shows very strong, and it's conjunct the sun, so very strong intellect, right? Intellect that's operating in secret realms, hidden realms. And it's strengthening his sun because it's not a very strong sun, but the Saturn is very strong, right? So his leadership, his authoritarianism. Saturn and both Sun and Saturn, what they have in common is leadership. Sun rules by sort of like royalty, by royal decree. Sun is the king. It's exalted in its brightness, and it wants to just shine. But Saturn rules by creating laws, right? Saturn Libra is very law oriented because Libra is the scales of balance, and Saturn does excellent there. Saturn really wants to stick to the laws and the rules, and puts that at a very, very high pronounced position. So that's very strong. He's very law oriented. This guy is a man of authority and law, like fair law. It's not just like rule by iron decree. Like he's not a tyrant. I mean, he might have like tyrannical sort of leanings, which we'll get to, Scorpio, Pluto, hint, hint. But he's also very law-bound and very judicious and very, like, for him, following the law, even though it's secret in the 12th house, I would not say is really like the house for the most above board sort of law to be seen, right? We'd want that in the 12th house or the 7th house, sorry, 10th house or 7th house, first house, whatever, right? But there is still a strong leaning towards following the law. A 12th house, again, like I said, could weaken that because it deals with secrecy. So he's dealing with laws, but in a secret way, right? And then Neptune and Mercury. Without the Saturn here, I would say this is particularly weak position for these three, Sun, Neptune, and Mercury, because Mercury in the 12th, again, good for creativity, good for writing. He's probably an excellent writer, by the way. And Neptune and Mercury, that's going to give sort of a similar thing to Jupiter and Mercury, where it's just weakening. The Mercury deals a lot with details, and it's very small-minded and focused, very fast. But it's Mercury is on the small details, the small things, and Neptune just kind of blows it out of the water. It's just expanding it, making it very creative. He's very imaginative, and that's why I think you often hear he talked about like he's a chess master. I think like he's actually a chess master because partially we see here with this Saturn. This Saturn is giving so much structure and organization to his Sun, to his Neptune, even to his Mercury, because it's in really good dignity, this Saturn. And whatever Saturn touches, it's going to crystallize. It's going to really harden. You know, Saturn with Mercury is a scientist. Saturn with Venus is a very detailed fine artist, right? Saturn with Mars is a technical engineer. I mean, if they can get past the cruelty and violence. You know, Saturn and Sun, depending on the dignity, again, can be a leader, an authoritarian, a lawmaker, and that's what he is. So he studied law, but then he went into KGB. KGB is Russian Secret Service. Again, 12th house, secrecy. That's of course, right? Moon in Gemini. Okay, that's not exactly trine by degree, but by element. It's trine this stellium in Libra, right? Okay, it's out of degree, but anyway, it's still harmonious because air and air. Moon in Gemini can create, you know, real brilliance, right? Craziness. The Moon in Gemini is like emotional. Forget emotional stability with Moon in Gemini. These are the most, probably one of the most, if not the most, emotionally unstable people. I mean, minus like if you're talking about like Moon in Scorpio, which is very turbulent. Moon in Gemini is not like that. It's not as like dramatic. It doesn't have the drama of something like Moon in Scorpio, right? Or you know, it's not dry like Moon in Capricorn, right? But it's like all over the place, moving so fast. And Moon in Gemini is changing moods like just a mile a minute, you know, feeling one way, and it can kind of make a kind of mental imbalance, but incredible, you know, intellect, especially with, you know, Saturn ruling the third house in an air sign, exalted, and then the Moon in Gemini. This is just adding to his brilliance. He's a very smart man, very intellectual, and very strategic. You know, the 12th house will give him a lot of strategy, especially with this Mercury here. You know, Neptune's going to make it very imaginative. Mercury, coupled with the Saturn, is going to make it very strategic because that's like more concrete, right? It's both. It's very creative and imaginative, and then like bringing it back down to reality. So he's able to tread that barrier, that bridge between the imagination, the creative imagination, and the hard, you know, Saturnian law and details of Mercury. So that's very strong in him. Moon adds to that. Let's look at his ascendant, Scorpio ascendant. I mean, he's got like basically the same exact ascendant as me, like literally, like, you know, minus 2-3 degrees. I'm not sure of the exact minute, but somewhere right around there. And if you notice, a lot of leaders have Scorpio in the first house, if not as the first house cusp. Like some have it in Libra, some have it in Scorpio. A lot have Scorpio very prominent. Why? Because Scorpio loves to wield power, right? In fact, all the fixed signs have a relationship to power. Scorpio wields power. Taurus hoards power. Leo represents power. And Aquarius invents or creates power. Like, I'm just using power as what these, how the fixed signs relate. It's almost, you could use other words too, like, I don't know, energy or strength or something like that. Light. Anyway, Scorpio loves to control power and loves to be in positions of power. It's that psychological domination and the control. Scorpio loves control. He's got Venus in the first house, so secrets are coming to him because 12th house, also 7th house. So not only secrets, other people. Like, he's very attractive. I don't just mean like to women. I just mean in general, because 7th Lord is in the first house, also 12th Lord in the first house. And it's Venus nonetheless. So he's very charismatic, right? not only does Scorpio ascendant have this allure, right? This mystique, this thing that can be very attractive, sometimes repulsive. Some people just automatically hate Scorpio ascendants or Scorpio energy in general, but it can be very attractive, especially with Venus here. That much more attractive. Other people he's bringing towards him, he's attracting other people towards him, including the masses, and he's attracting the stellium that towards him, which is dealing with secrets. This I'd say is pretty strong here, especially with the Saturn, and then the disposer in the first house is Venus. Whenever Venus is in the first house, it really adds to the looks. Scorpio ascendant already has exotic looks, oftentimes very attractive, not always, but you know, definitely Scorpio ascendants are intimidating, can be scary looking. Venus here really kind of blends it with, because you're bringing in something very different than Scorpio, bring in Venus. You know, instead of Mars Pluto, you're bringing something very soft and beautiful, right? So he's very charismatic, and he can really charm people with Venus here. That's what Venus in the first house does. It gives good looks and very charming, beautiful personality, right? It's like almost a Libra ascendant or a Taurus ascendant. He's bringing elements of that. So he's bringing, you know, that sort of quality to him. I don't know if you know any Venus in the first house, but they are really, really charming, beautiful type people, right? Yeah. Also for the ladies, I mean, I'm sure he's can charm the ladies when he wants to. And I'd say he's pretty photogenic. I mean, not extremely so, but like you do see a lot of photographs of him. He's got this tough guy image of, you know, him riding a bear, you know, and a shirtless. And I know he did study judo and some other martial arts. So he's very physical, right? In the seventh house, we got Moon and Jupiter. Moon is seventh, leaning towards eighth. Eighth will give him a lot of psychological prowess in his understanding, and more secrecy again. Seventh is great for relating to the people, right? Jupiter in the seventh. Jupiter in the seventh can be like a counselor or a teacher to others. And it really deals with relationships. Whenever you have a planet in the seventh house, it comes alive in relationships. Like I have Jupiter in the seventh, and whenever I sit down with a client, like an astrology client, I do a session, I'm just so generous. Like I really want to help them. And that's the Jupiter. It's not like I'm trying to be a good person or anything. It's the Jupiter in the seventh. Whenever he's dealing with other people, he's very generous, right? Or crowds. Seventh house can also be crowds. And so people like that. People love Jupiter in the seventh because when in every relationship, they're getting a lot from it. He's naturally being very generous and giving towards them. That's Jupiter, expanding relationships. Like you can really, again, the charming quality of that is just like people love that. People love Jupiter in the seventh because it makes it feel so good. You're getting all this Jupiterian energy when you meet with Putin. I mean, I'm sure if any of us met with Putin in personal, you know, not like reading the newspaper, but personally, we'd be like, oh my God, that guy is like wonderful, so charming. So, because, you know, the Venus in the first, Jupiter in the seventh, Moon in the seventh. Moon in the seventh also, similarly, is really caring, really tender, very emotional. You feel nourished. You feel that motherly energy, right? So I mean, people will love Putin. I'm not saying he doesn't have his tyrannical stuff, you know, Pluto, and we'll get to this, and then Scorpio. I mean, Scorpio ascendant in general, you know, power, control, you know, narcissism even. There's definitely a lot with there. But he can really lay on the charm, I'm telling you. Jupiter is the only retrograde planet, so that does give him a bit of, I would say, reserve. I haven't really seen this in action, but retrograde planets tend to just be a bit more inward. So his philosophical qualities are, especially with Uranus in the ninth, pretty much conjunct the ninth house cusp. His philosophy is going through a lot of internal struggles and changes and challenges and being radical. I'm sure he has some pretty radical beliefs that he kind of keeps to himself with Jupiter in retrograde, Uranus in the ninth house. Beliefs are getting radicalized and internalized, right? So we don't really know what he's thinking as far as like, what does he believe? He's probably not very religious with Uranus in the ninth. Uranus in the ninth is going to destroy the tradition because Uranus is so unique. It's like forget everything. I got to figure this out like 100% on my own, and I will not follow anyone or anything. Like period. Like Uranus is like fuck everyone. I'm like it's a kind of like it's Uranus has this quality where it's almost like the confidence of the sun, but in a unique way. Like it's like I don't even care about anyone ever or anything ever. It's just me in my mind. That's Uranus. Me in my mind, and forget the whole universe. Just me in my mind. We're going to figure this out. And we're going to start now and now and now. It's just completely radical. That's Uranus. I mean, I have it conjunct my ascendant. That's the story of my life. It's just like, forget everyone. It's just like Uranians, like bang, right here, right now. Like nothing else. Okay, so forget religion. He's not a religious man. Even if he pretends to be, he's completely radical when it comes to his philosophy, when it comes to his beliefs in God. It's going to be totally radicalized. But it doesn't change the fact that he's going to be very Jupiterian with others. And I mean, except like I have Jupiter in Taurus too. We have very similar charts, me and Putin, actually, because same ascendant, same exact. So my Jupiter is in Taurus. Jupiter in Taurus is so excessive. Like Jupiter and Taurus in the seventh, we really love to, we're just like giving. I may not seem like it, but have a session with me. You'll leave happy because I just give so much. I'm so generous. It's that Taurus, excess, the material, it's practical wisdom, Jupiter and Taurus. And then the seventh is like giving you all the practical wisdom, like all of it, just laying it on you. Right? I go over time with readings. I'm just very excessive with how much I give. Yes, I dote on you. And he will too. And he combines it with the moon. And the moon and Jupiter is always a great combination. They're not in the same sign, obviously. Be even more powerful if they were. But they are in the same house, even though moon's going towards the eighth house. It's seventh, eighth. It's both, I look at both the quadrant and the whole sign house. But moon's moving into this house. That's giving him more secrecy. Moon's moving into the eighth house, so it's giving him more secrecy, more psychological thinking, which he already has in spades, right? I mean, Pluto, co-ruler of Scorpio, is conjunct the South Node in Leo. Pluto and Leo, classic boomer placement. These are very confident and powerful people because, Leo is the sign of confidence and personal confidence, right? And Pluto that just gives it a lot of power. It's a generational thing. Like these people are always it's a very powerful generation. And we know that they clash heads with not with the Xers, but with the millennials who are Scorpio mostly. Pluto and Scorpio, Pluto and Scorpio is very powerful too. Equally as powerful. I hear Pluto, some people say Pluto is exalted in Leo and at home in Scorpio. So anyway, we know the millennials are with the Pluto and Scorpio powerful generational position. But anyway, this is Pluto in Leo and conjunct the South Node. And the South Node is what we came into this life with, what we're born with, right? So he was born with this extreme confidence and extreme personal power, right? Generational power that he embodies. Like it was there from the beginning, and he lived it throughout the first half of his life. I say till 42 is when it switches over, but it's slowly gradual in the 30s. Um, 42 is the major switchover. But if you have Pluto, if you have South Node conjunct the MC, that's showing an early rise to prominence, because the MC is the public life. It's what we put out in the public, right? It's the opposite of the IC, which is home. And so it's showing an early rise to prominence. And he did. He was in the KGB, and he went into politics pretty young, and he's been in power for on and off for 20 years about. Like I think 1999, he was acting president, and he was prime minister, and he was president. And so, I mean, that's a long run to be like leading a country, right? And that a lot of that has to do with South Node in Leo, conjunct the MC, conjunct Pluto. This is a very powerful position for prominence. I mean, it's all three of them. It's Pluto, South Node, Leo, MC. So that's 4 things, right? And, you know, the dispositor is the Sun conjunct an exalted Saturn. Without the Saturn, it would not be nearly, like I said before, not be nearly as strong, but it's also a sextile. This stellium, it's exactly sextile the Neptune, but they're all kind of, all the energies are blending when you have like a stellium conjunction like this. So that's pretty good, pretty strong there. So his career is going into secret things, hidden things, foreign things, you know, KGB, secrecy. Russia is a very secretive kind of country in general, right? They deal a lot with hidden and private secret things. Yeah, but this is very, very powerful, very prominent, just an early rise to public, you know, powerful position. Pluto's the planet of power, right? Pluto's the co-ruler, and his ascendant is Scorpio. So it's his ascendant lord, at least the one half of it, the other half would be Mars. One half of it is going conjuncting the MC. So he's going right to, you know, career, powerful career in the public eye, right? Even though it's dealing with secrecy, it's, you know, he's going into the public eye with the South Node, with the MC, with Leo, public prominence in a big way. And the difference between Pluto and Mars, both ruling Scorpio, is Pluto is like, the energy is much older. Like Pluto would be like the grandfather, Mars would be like the grandson. Pluto is the old psychological part. You know, both are very desirous and passionate, but Pluto deals much more with the mind and the intellect and the psychology and the hidden psychic realm. It's the mastermind. Pluto is the mastermind, and it's so, so powerful. And it yields, and it wants control, right? Mars is the physical aspect. It's very desirous, very hot, very passionate, and very physical. It's not so much psychological, but it is technical. Like Mars can be very smart in a mechanical way, mechanical, technical. You know, it could be, if it's applied to computers, it could be, you know, that way, or like instruments, musical instruments, or like mechanics and engineering. Anything physical, really, passion. So that's the difference. And if you're wondering where the father, Pluto's the grandfather, Mars is the grandson, who's the father? Well, that's probably in between Jupiter and Saturn, depends on how you look at it. They're the more like the fatherly side of things, because like the farther out the planet, the more old they are. They don't have that useful energy. Like Mercury and Venus and Mars and Moon are very physical. Well, Moon is, we consider the mother, so it's kind of like has a mature aspect that way. But between Mercury and Venus and Mars, they're all young planets. They all feel young. They feel like brothers and sisters, siblings, young people. Whereas Jupiter and Saturn have a more fatherly, you know, feel to them. And then the grandparents are Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, right? Much less physical, much more intellectual, psychic, mental, right? Or in the case of Neptune, well, Neptune's very mental, but in an imaginative way, creative way. Anyway, Mars in the second house is going to deal with I mean, yeah, material stuff, but also speech, right? Powerful, passionate speech. And if you hear him speak, I mean, I haven't really heard much of his speeches because he speaks in Russian. So it's kind of like, oh, do I really want to read the transcription? Not much. But he's going to be a very passionate, powerful speaker. And he has to be if he's going to be a president and hold that position for a long time. That's important. And Mars in Sagittarius does pretty well because it's trine its own sign of Aries. And it's also trine Pluto, which gives it added power. You know, this is really strong. Pluto and Leo, which is, like I said, a lot of people say it's exalted, and then Mars is Sagittarius. Both these are the ascendant rulers. It's going to the second house of knowledge, speech, material assets, family, self-worth. This is a pretty strong position, definitely. Brings in a lot of good things like speaking, teaching ability, and knowledge, and sense of a really strong sense of self, right? Now, what's really interesting is that North Node is on the IC in Aquarius, and these are really conjunct: South Node, North Node, MCIC. And what this is showing is that as he gets older, he's really going to be obsessed with home, but what that really means is homeland, right? Russia. He's obsessed with Russia, with protecting Russia. And if people really understand this, I think people get it. But if they understood astrology, they would say, oh, Putin really cares about Russia. Putin really wants to protect Russia. He's got his North Node in Aquarius and the IC. And Aquarius also is about utopian civilization in its highest expression. It's about an ideal society. So he really wants what's best for the people of Russia. Like, there could be no better position that I could think of than North Node on the IC in Aquarius. I mean, maybe there are some better positions, but this is really, really excellent. I can't think of any. Because North Node is where we become obsessed, especially as we get older, past the 42 mark. Obsessed. Like, that's where all our energy is going. And IC is homeland, real estate, but empire. In this case, it's just the whole country of Russia. And Aquarius is all about the civilization, society, utopian, like the ideals, the ideal society. Like, he's so much about protecting Russia. He's Russia, like, but in the good sense. Like, he wants to protect. He's not going to betray Russia. Like, forget it. He's 100% for Russia, for the Russian people, all the way, right? He's not. I don't care what anyone says. Like, he's not. Yeah, he might do some like unscrupulous things from now, time to time, but he's for the Russian people. I mean, you cannot deny that. And we should be so lucky. I mean, I don't want to get stoke up any algorithms by saying something I shouldn't be. But, we got tyranny staring down our neck. Big Brother's watching. But we should be so lucky. That's all I'm going to say. We should be so lucky. So should most of Europe be so lucky to have somebody like Putin on their side. Putin is all about Russia. Now, what else? A few other things. Now, Jupiter is square the nodes. So that's indicating some destiny with Jupiter in the 7th house. Maybe he had a spiritual teacher or some kind of teacher, some kind of guru, maybe a practical teacher, maybe somebody who's give him wisdom and advice, because Jupiter always represents the teacher, and the 7th house can go both ways. It can show who we attract into our life. This could also be the destiny that he's supposed to be a Jupiterian type guru towards others, the masses, which maybe he is. I mean, we don't live in Russia. We don't know what it's like for the people of Russia to have Putin as their leader. Maybe he is a Jupiterian type to them. Maybe he's a guru. Maybe he's a teacher to Russia. Or at least that's what, there's something destined between the nodes. Nodes are the axis of destiny. And anything square to the nodes is showing something that's that needs to be fulfilled. or that will happen, a destiny. It's karma. It's a very strong point of karma. Jupiter in the 7th in Taurus, right? There's something there. There's something there that's very prominent for him in a beneficial way. Either that he's receiving or giving, or probably some of both at different times of his life. At one point he received, and then for another point or a long period, he's giving back to the people of Russia. Wealth, food, and he's doing all that. Like, there's a lot of good things that he's doing as far as like food. No GMOs, organics. He's grown the economy. He's doing wonderful things economically for Russia. So, you know, that's all here in the chart. What else? Uranus is square Saturn. That's a sign of rebellion. He's a rebel. I have Uranus square Saturn. Uranus square Saturn just rebels against authority. In this case, Saturn is stronger than Uranus. So he's going to run into rebellion as a leader, because now he's in a Saturnian position as an authority, as the president. He's an authority. So now he's going to run into rebellion. People are going to rebel against him. That's just part of, you know, this destiny. That's what he's going to attract. You know, because you're on, whenever there's a square, it represents both an internal struggle and an external projection that you're going to receive out in life. So like sometimes he's Saturn having to deal with the rebels, where he's going to want to try and be the law and they're going to break the law. Other times he's going to want to be a rebel and rebel against the law, against a very strong authoritarian, you know, law type or group. And he's probably been on both sides of that square. And there's also the internal struggle within him where he's just always rebelling against something. But he's going to rebel, and we see that he's rebel. Like, he's rebelling against the whole New World Order, right? Even though he's a part of it, he's also rebelling against it. He's rebelling against the West. So Putin's no pushover, right? I mean, he does have this want, you know, with this Libra, stellium in Libra, Venus in the first house. It's going to be he's a tendency to be very diplomatic, to be very smooth, to want peace, to prefer peace over war, to prefer diplomacy over aggression, even though he's a very powerful speaker and an aggressive speaker and a passionate speaker. You know, he's going to take the soft approach first, but he's not a pushover. And he's, you know, push him enough, and you're going to bring out the Scorpio, the Pluto, South Node. And I mean, South Node Pluto, this is a person who knows how to be destructive. Pluto is the planet of destruction and rebirth. Like, push him, you'll find out. He'll destroy whatever he needs to destroy to get his way. But he's going to prefer diplomacy and peace and, you know, talking it out. That's what he wants. He's going to be very generous about it. So I think, yeah. If we look at the extended chart selection, we see that his moon is out of bounds, pretty far out of bounds, 25 degrees. So is his Mars. All his planets are direct except for Jupiter, nothing stationary. So what that indicates is that he's pretty, you know, his mind goes to extreme, and this can, when especially with the moon's out of bounds, it shows a pretty far out there person. Sometimes criminality, sometimes genius, right? But very out of the box thinking. I think the guy is a genius because of, you know, that out of the bounds moon. Out of bounds Mars will also be like, you know, just also a really untamed, because Mars is so passionate, physical, and aggressive. So he's just like untamed, especially with his speech. You know, and then the Pluto is backing that up. Yeah, so that's the way I see it. He's going to put peace first. He's going to try to be diplomatic. He's going to try to be soft. And I keep hearing reports that, like, his cabinet in Russia are kind of losing. I don't know about losing patience, but they're not nearly as soft as he is. They would want to strike. They would want to lay down a hard line. They would want to do much more as far as aggressive tactics. And he's like, no, we're going to be diplomatic. We're going to be smooth about it. We're going to, be very patient, but we're going to be calculating. We're going to play chess, and we're going to play the long game. And make no doubt, when push comes to shove, he's going to bring out this Pluto, this Scorpio, this Mars. He's got it. He knows how to use it. And, he'll do what needs to be done, but not before he exhausts all the peaceful options, which I think is great. I mean, I really like the guy because of, what I've seen and what I'm looking at in his chart. His chart is backing up so much of what I've heard so far, not from the mainstream media again, but from real news sources, alternative media. So, guys, I think Putin is a really interesting character. And again, I'm not saying he's a saint because I don't think he is, but I think he's really cares about Russia and really cares about the Russian people. He's the right man for the job. He's willing to stand up to to these evil tyrants who are pushing the New World Order. And I think he's going to do good things. So that is Vladimir Putin. And if you'd like to book a reading and want to experience for yourself what Jupiter in the 7th house in Taurus is like, plus I have South Node in conjunct Jupiter. So that makes me, even more Jupiterian, I suppose. And I have Mercury there as well. Anyway, you can email me and get a reading. I'm going to stop sharing now. So that's it for now. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'm going to try and do some more readings when I have time. Unfortunately, I don't have that much time. I do have a job, which is, let's just say I make all my money with astrology, but I don't. Just don't have enough readings to do that. But I'm going to do some more readings, and hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you again soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.